On this one, I wanted to do the just the putting together process and the sewing. So now we've got kind of everything pretty much. So since this is going on and already, that's kind of the good thing I like about straps too, is you can add on as you go. So it's almost like a never, well, not a never-ending puzzle, but you know, you can kind of get a strap, and over a course of however many years, I see it a lot, especially with you know, kids and their first couple birds or whatever, guys that, you know, each year they get something cool and they kind of add on. So these are like the final two for this particular. So I got to get the strap once it's mounted, and then I'll add it on to it. And even if not, I like to kind of make that at the end, and instead of having a whole just conglomerate of birds on one little piece and trying to pin everything together, sometimes I'll do that. But anyway, for this thing, a lot of times, so for just wires, you know, like you can screw them in, or I kind of just beat in a sharp angle, and then just poke them on down to this. This works for sitting, standing. Obviously, you'd have the wires, but for sitting, strap, whatever, it's a good way. Or like birds that are hanging from the ceiling, especially people do swans, geese, cranes. God, those are nightmares. But you know, obviously it'd be a bigger board, bigger wires, but same concepts. Just something to give you some stability, so you can actually like work on stuff. So anyway, he's gonna be going on that. Like before, I'm gonna pull this out. So this is what I had in there to keep him from drying out. So got the wires in, everything's good. So now I'm just gonna go through. You want to kind of really gently be on this area, especially not too much. Make sure you have like a large surface area when you're doing this, because man, you know, it doesn't take much for stuff to start falling out. So, but same thing, just make sure nothing's rolled in on itself, because then it's just sitting there against the skin. So then I'll take, you know, make sure they're straight and not twisted. Just, yeah, so get kind of a little bend, and I want most everything to come up in this little area here, just because it's the thickest and provide the best anchor point. So then I'll just kind of get a general bend, so it's going straight in there. I go until the mark, and then I'll just bend this in here. And then if you have thicker wires, or especially if the foam is thinner, you may have to run some hot glue. This is pretty dense. Sometimes they come, sometimes they come kind of thin, and so you put the wire in, and it's just kind of real flimsy. So, just a side note. So work it in, get it generally around the same area. Same thing, just kind of get it to where it's coming in straight. Depending on where it goes, you're going to have different lengths to kind of work with on the other end of it. But so got that. So then on this one, he's going to be hanging like this. He's going to hang like this. So that means that this side needs to be further back, because if it was hanging there, then this was going to be offset further back. So on his right side, that's going to be pretty normal placement. And then again with this, there's not going to be any support wires, so I guess actually I'll kind of run through in the event that there was. I'd like to cover all the bases instead of making, there's so many different topics anyway. I don't want to make it, you know, well, here's the whole video on how to wire it if it's, you know, if it's flying, well, if it's a strap, if it's this. So then again, be a little bit further back, so the leg is, you know, a little further out like it would be in real life. So then you got that. So if it was a flying bird, you would have, well, first I'm going to get them bent down so they're not looking like Batman or something. And then I'll kind of work this down a little bit, because now I want to glue the head on, but also obviously don't want any glue. Well, yeah, you know what? We'll do a trick for that. I don't really need to, but so if it was a support wire, which I happen to have one here, big surprise. You know, so if it was flying to left, you'd want it coming out this way, vice versa. So then what I'm going to do, well, I'll do it, I guess. So then you just start in, and I did a video on how the whole thing kind of works, but you get it, yeah, you can see that. So you get it obviously to where it's out, but it's not going to affect the skin. Get that, you just want to move it to center line, hold nice and flat where the wire's coming out, boom, it comes out, and then you would drive it in, bend it around, and there you go. So anyway, so on that's for flying bird. We've already done a video on this. So on the head, what I'll do is I'll get a paper towel. Damn it. I'll get a paper towel, and then I'll just kind of get like a little break going. Slide that down. So now we have a real good surface, or we have something to kind of keep the glue. So then I'm going to get the glue in the head right now. I put in, you know, not a ton, I guess, but enough to do what it needs to do. So then from here, stick it in like normal, kind of, you know, kind of work it around a little bit, make sure it's getting into all those little nice crevices. So then normally from the stuff that I had before to keep it that's kind of moist anyway, I'll kind of just wipe that just so that way there's no dried beads, that, you know, because you're going to have to cut that off or else it's going to be a, you know, an issue. So then I'll kind of lay that flat. That way that's going to dry without getting on all of your stuff. Wipe this borax off of me. Let me get my sewing thread that dropped a second ago. Alright, so then we got them all wired up. Good deal. Now I'm going to get a little 18 gauge. Oops, bumped it. Alright, so now I'm going to get an 8. Let me move this back. So then down here, just going to get the quills inside of the slot. Go right underneath the tail. Twist. Go in maybe a couple inches. Pull it back out just so it kind of freely, it's not, you know, in a bind. Okay. So then from here, get some more borax. So then I'm just going to kind of go, make sure the feathers are not, just put a good amount of, and this stuff helps with, you know, just kind of drying anything that's, you know, it's kind of a happy medium. You know, you obviously want him really dry. You don't want him so dry that he's, you know, now that, you know, you don't want to start losing flexibility or, you know, pliability, especially on like a standing bird or something like that, because then now you're talking about, you know, issues with the wing setting. And okay, so then last thing before we sew them up. So then I'm just going to take some polyfill. I'll show the bag here. Just a big old bag. It's cheap, not too much. And I'll take, you know, just eyeball it. It's not an exact science. So then from here, I'll push this. So I'm trying to go through all the examples here. So this I kind of want it pushed out a little bit. So basically I want this to be kind of, you know, a little bit more here than say here, just to give it a full, not too far down in there, but, and so if it were, most flying mounts, I'll just put it at the junction of the body where it dips into the neck, because that's where, you know, there's a lot of, there used to be the crop, and wherever there's the crop, generally that's full or it's got stuff in it, so it gives it a nice rounded shape. So you don't want to make it too, you know, concave. If you have a flying bird maybe that's kind of coming in, or he's got his head down in this particular pose, you'd want this lump right here. Otherwise you want it as, you know, the lines to be straight and easy on the eye as possible. Flying birds, that's about it. On standing bird, or no, sorry, standing, sitting especially, because when they're sitting then they kind of flatten out. Then I would put you know, kind of work out like a little stream of it and then I'd put that along where the side pocket feathers are. And so then when it comes back over, that's going to keep it nice and wide. So when you set the wings, it's going to kind of give it that flat, chubby look. And again, that just depends on if you have room, if it's a bird that's kind of the body's a little tight. It's always better to be a little loose than a little tight. I could definitely say that. So from here, we have our center line that we started on from the very, very first cut. So I just start, you don't want to do it too close. Then it kind of bunches them together. So I'll just kind of start here, pull through, and then I'll just kind of work down. Maybe, said I've been doing it so long, maybe 1.25 inches, I'd say. So then I'm going to kind of go through. You want to make sure not too many feathers are getting kind of caught up with the thread. So I'll just kind of work through every 1.25 inches, maybe 1.5 inches actually. Kind of get it, kind of kick the feathers up. So that way when you pull it tight, you don't want that to suck feathers into it. Like you can see this feather here, so you'd want to, kind of pull that out of the thread. So I'll go through. Normally, I mean, some of them, if it's like this, kind of nice, nice and pliable or pretty strong, you can really kind of go through down the whole bird. But so we'll go through, keep going down, kind of keep it manageable. So then we're kind of getting to the end. So then I'm going to get here, squeeze. But then the biggest thing you really need to do, kind of get a brace right here in the back. So as you squeeze, you're not pulling the bird. And then I'm just going to kind of keep against the grain as I kind of pull. And then you can kind of see the feathers starting to interlock. Because when they're on the body, they actually, and you can see how nice and smooth that is now. So when they're on the body, they're interlocked. Because if you think back to when you skin them, you're having to separate out, and so you're taking the interlocking and kind of doing that. So you're just trying to obviously reverse engineer it. So then I'll get to the end here, and I know there's a million ways of doing everything. I just wanted to kind of show some of mine. A lot of people ask over the years how I do this, how I do that. So I just kind of figured, what, I'll just make some videos. Hopefully, I know when I first started, I got a video from Wasco at the time, and it was like, I think it was Sally Dames. And it was like a 3-hour video, and skipped over a whole bunch of stuff. I was trying to like mount at the same time that it was going on, like follow along. And I see some videos like that on YouTube now where it's just like it's not my cup of tea, but whatever. Because if you're trying to follow along, especially, it's such a long process, especially when you're first starting. I can remember spending, like 20-something hours on my very, 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 very first bird. And if you're trying to follow along and it's like, okay, we've now skinned it, now we're going to go on to fleshing it. All right, well, we've now fleshed it, now we're going to go on to, whatever. It's like, man, you don't really know how did you get to C when you skipped over point B. So that's why I'm doing a lot of these videos, because now I can explain everything, great detail. Yeah, I know it's a lot of videos, but if there's something in particular somebody likes, hopefully this will be a lot easier than having to scrub through a bunch of videos. Now they can say, man, I really want to know XYZ. Boom, here's a nice, hopefully informative. So I get to the end, I'm going, left, right, left, right, left, right, going down. So as I get to the very end, now I'm at the very, very bottom, the vent. So then now all I'm going to do is just kind of get that and the very straight down the bottom. Pull that nice and tight. That's going to suck the vent back to where it should have been or would be. So you can see interlocked, not interlocked. Yeah, okay. So same thing, just kind of little gentle counter pressure, work it back. We'll start interlocking, little rub-a-dub, and then boom, there you go. So then I'll cut maybe, can you see this? Okay, so I'll cut maybe 3 inches, because I actually have to a ring neck after this, but I wanted to kind of get some of this stuff out of the way on a bigger bird. But so I just kind of cut, tied a few knots so that first trip through it catches. and doesn't pull through. I've definitely seen a lot of different ways. It's kind of like with clothes, you know, there's a million different knots. And anyway, but that's how I'm doing it. So I got 2 pieces now. Now I'm just going to kind of pull a little bit tight, kind of go through, make sure I'm not catching feathers. That's the big thing. Just do about three knots. Then I'll get in there below the feather line. Boom, boom. Alright, so then take this off. So now we kind of have, you know, I'll get a little rough approximation here. You know, everything looks real rough until you start like actually putting it together. So it's kind of an interesting deal. But I know I've had a lot of people that, you know, they'll see a bird like in the wash or something, and you know, when it's just looking like garbage. And I've had some guys that like, man, I can't even look, man. I can't even look and see that. That's, you know, it's so unbelievable that it goes to that back to this nice fluffy thing. So I'm gonna close it with the board we saw before. So then now I just you know, I want to do it where it's not going to affect anything. I kind of just want to shift it on there, so it's like, you know, the big thing on this is you don't want to press a whole bunch of feathers back into the foam. So I'll kind of get where it's solid, shift that down like that. So then I'm kind of going, all right, well, on the back side, then I'm going to want to try to pull this a little bit just to get kind of the, and on this I'm not going to worry about it. I mean, it's still pretty nice and smooth, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, just because it's going to be on a strap and you don't want to take a bunch of extra opportunities to pull feathers out if you don't have to. So all I did here is I just, what can we see? I just made this straight, so like it's hanging. This one's bent over like it would be if it were, you know, hanging there. So then from here, another important thing is, you know, you're gonna have excess skin around the feet or the back of the legs. So I just kind of work this kind of back and then up and pin that into place. And that kind of takes away his domestic duck tummy that you'll see on some of them. So same thing on this side, back and up, and that kind of flattens them back out. So then now you can see, yeah, now you can see nice perfect line. I'll show you on this side just so it's, because it's kind of hard. It's like I'm not even zoomed in. I don't know what the deal is. So I got kind of the wing generally where I want it. I can always move it a little bit after the fact, but once the wire is under here, so I'm just going to get a little bit out just so I can work. So I want to get the get these feathers out of the way, and so you can see where the flight web is. And so then I want to kind of start here, and then where that area I have cut out from before in the body, I want to go to the top of that, push that in, kind of make sure the feathers aren't you know, getting trapped. You want to make sure it's layered, you know, boom 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 all the way, and just kind of get that. Actually, you know what, I did that. So you know, the higher up you go, the tighter you can make it. And you got to figure on a real bird, if you pull his wing out, it's going to snap back. And the only reason it does that is because the flight web is like a rubber band, and it retracts it back. So same kind of concept. Whenever you put it back, a lot of people don't pin the wings, and so then the flight web is out here, and it doesn't make a nice like arch. And if it's not going to make a nice arch, then the whole thing is not going to look right. So I've already done the clay before. You know what? Okay, so I'm going to pause it and I'll show you one last thing. Then this applies to all the flying stuff, and then I think we'll be good to go. All right, so from here I got 18 I cut. I just wanted to show, so whether he was flying or whatever, it's going to be the same thing. And this is another thing that I see a lot. It's real important, is when a bird's flying and the feathers are droopy, it just doesn't look right, because you're never going to see that just from the side of aerodynamics of just general in flight. You're never going to see an airplane with droopy, you know what I mean? So what I'll do is come through kind of above the side pockets, just kind of in an area where it's that fluffy feathers, where it's not going to really make a difference. Damn it. So I'll kind of just twist this until it, because I don't want it to really bunch the skin or twist it. Get it into the body a little bit. Let me move this up. Alright. So I'm moving into the body. So I'll kind of bend it where I'm going to think that the tertials will go. You know, about here. I can obviously, so I'll bend it down, general shape, get it underneath the whole entire wing, and then I want to kind of just bend this up so it kind of follows the line. And then, you know, especially if something is hanging, it's going to have a little bit more outwards angle on the wings. So once I kind of get the, I'm going to show this. Well, anyway, once I kind of get the shape going along the wing, then I get out to the end, and then from here I'll just go straight back. And what this is for is that way when I tape the primaries, I can go straight to the wire. So then the wire is kind of, you know, and then like I said, once the feathers are in place here, it's going to be a nice straight curve, and there you go. So anyway, I might do taping another time, and I still have that to do and inject and everything, but I wanted to get a few out and try to get through certain processes, you know, whenever I can. So anyway, same procedure for next one. Pin the flight web, do the wire, head, the clay on the head and the eye, set that, you know, head, and then I'll shop back it, get that all dry, boom, that's good. And then I'll go through, start taping. Once everything is taped, the head's all good, then go through and inject it, and then it's all done. So anyway, that's a pretty good chunk right there. So next time I'll probably do taping the wings maybe, and I'm gonna still try to do how I inject the feet, and we're getting there. So alright guys.